Damon Martin MMA fighting here with Dan Hooker. He returns to action in just a few weeks' time, actually, taking on Nasrat Haqparast at UFC 266. Dan, welcome back. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well. I'm very well. We got locked down here in New Zealand. There was a bit of an outbreak, so they've locked the whole country down. So just me and a few teammates have moved into the gym. So we're just living at the gym now. Uh, and that's us until the fight, pretty much looks like.
Yeah, how crazy is it? I know, you spent time in the States, and I know obviously I'm sure you've seen like the States because I remember we talked in the middle of the pandemic, and you were telling me like New Zealand was pretty much back to normal. You guys were having, full audiences, no masks, nothing like that. But you guys are pretty hardcore with like the lockdown, like one case of COVID and then it just like shuts down. So what's it like right now?
Yeah, well, that's just the funny thing about it. Like everyone kind of had to choose their approach from the start and stick with it. In New Zealand went with, the zero approach. We're lucky we're on our little island down in the corner of the world, so we're trying to keep it to zero. But of course, the payback for that is that once there's even one case or a few cases here in New Zealand, they'll lock the whole country down. So level 4 lockdown, which pretty much means that everyone has to stay at their homes. The only thing that's open is a supermarket. So we've just created a bubble at the gym, and I'm lucky enough that I've got a bunch of teammates that have, made the sacrifice with me to be bodies and training partners for sparring and wrestling and all that jazz. So I'm lucky that they've given up their time to help me prepare for this matchup.
Yeah, I know we've talked a couple of times during this whole situation where you travel home and have to spend 2 weeks in quarantine away from your family, away from your daughter and everything. Obviously, your teammate Israel Adesanya, I'm sure you know the news, of course, that his fight with Robert Whitaker was going to be in November. Now it looks like it's going to get pushed back to next year. And part of the reason is he couldn't get a ticket back home. He couldn't find a ticket. I talked to your teammate Jenna Fabian before she came here to fight Kayla Harrison. Same thing. She's like, I don't have a ticket home. Like she's like, I might be home in December. I'm not sure. So what are you dealing with? Because when I heard your fight get announced, I was like, okay, I know Jenna said she may not get home till December. Israel doesn't know when he could come back, so he didn't even book a fight. So where are you at in terms of like when can you go home again?
Oh, man, that's why I was so adamant about this date. I was so adamant about the September 25th date. Last time I came home, I was away for 2 months altogether for the Chandler fight, away from home for 2 months. This fight, it'll only be a month. I'll go over before the fight a week, and then my ticket back into quarantine in New Zealand is a week after the fight. So I only spend a week in Las Vegas after the fight, and then 2 weeks quarantine, I'm back home. So that's why I pushed so hard for this date. Like I'm the reason that this this whole kind of fight has come together, because I pushed so hard for this date. I've been out there top to bottom in the rankings. I tried to fight absolutely everybody. I put my feelers out to absolutely everybody to see if they were interested in a fight. Unfortunately, a call from Sean Shelby a couple of weeks ago, and he just told me, yeah, I've tried calling, top to bottom, and everyone's either matched or washing their hair on that date, so they won't be available to fight. And so I said, man, we'll get someone unranked. I need to fight on that date. Or I'm in a situation like Jenna Fabian is, or I'm in a situation like Kai Kara France is fighting in December, Cody Garbrandt in December. He doesn't have a ticket home. And I've seen like news stories here in New Zealand of people being stuck away without a voucher and trying to get back into the country for 4, 5, maybe 6 months. They've been stuck out of the country because they can't get a spot in quarantine or in isolation. So it's a risky move. So that's why I had to push so hard for this date. And lucky enough, Nasrat stepped up to the plate. Nasrat took the challenge. So I take my hat off to him, and I look forward to getting out there and competing against him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense now why you wanted that date because you already had the voucher booked. You didn't want to give that up. So let me ask you, with that being said, because I know since the Chandler fight, you've been itching to fight. Obviously, I see on Twitter you're trying to get this guy, trying to get that guy, trying to get a fight. How frustrating has it been that you haven't? I mean, obviously, all respect in the world to Nasrat, but he's not a ranked opponent. Obviously, you are a top 10 fighter. How frustrating has it been that you haven't been able to get somebody to fight you from the rankings? I mean, I assume they tried a lot of different people.
Yeah, well, they tried everyone. Don't don't get me wrong. Yeah, I've been trying to fight since June. I tried to get on Israel's card in June, and they told me no one was ranked and available to fight me on Israel's card in June. So to be in that same position in September is, and then to potentially not fight again till next year is something that I just can't do. The competitor in me is, the competitor in me will not allow it, will not allow me to kind of waste this time where I feel so hungry to get out there and compete, just sitting here in New Zealand and training, like you drive yourself crazy. So, yeah, it's a funny situation, but obviously everyone's either booked or injured or just unavailable to kind of make that date. But I tried. You could list off the names, but I tried absolutely everyone. Nasrat's the best fighter I could get my hands on, and that's what it comes down to. Me at the end of the day, I will fight the best fighter I can get my hands on. That's it. That's it. Nasrat is the best fighter in the world that I can get my hands on September. That's why this fight's happening.
Yeah. Well, I know you had gone back and forth a little bit with his name is Arman Saruki, and I know you guys had gone back and forth a little bit. And I know you said, "Listen, I'll take the fight." You obviously knowing that you have a voucher to get home and you have to fight on this date in September. You obviously were willing to fight whoever they gave you. So I can't imagine if they had given you Arman, you would have taken that. But obviously that didn't happen.
Oh, well, 100%. That's something I've seen a few people say, like, oh, he's taken Nasrat because he's a striker and he doesn't want to fight a wrestler. I asked to fight or asked the UFC to fight Islam Makhachev. He's fighting RDA. I completely understand that he wants to fight RDA. That fight's supposed to happen. I can understand that. I tried to fight Gregor Gillespie. He wasn't ready to go. I tried to fight Arman. The dumbass already had a fight book, or he signed the contract real quick once me and him got in a little dispute. So I can't understand that bloke. But to say that I am unwilling to fight a wrestler is just that's just silly. That's just if you think that, then you're kind of kidding yourself. I'll put my hand up to fight absolutely anyone. The only reason they didn't fight is because they didn't accept the challenge.
Yeah. Would that be? Yeah, I know. I saw your exchange with Islam Makhachev. I was like, listen, if you want to fight a wrestler, that's probably one of the best wrestlers in the division. I know you're willing to fight him. So why would you back down from anybody else? But with that being said, we talked about this before the Chandler fight. And I know the Chandler fight didn't go your way. That's just unfortunate the way this sport goes. You got clipped, you got caught. Kudos to Michael Chandler for getting the job done. But you were one of the only guys at that point when he signed with the UFC who raised your hand and said, I'll fight Michael Chandler. Like, there's a lot of ranked guys, and you know this. There's a lot of ranked guys who said, no, he hasn't earned it. He's a Bellator guy. He needs to fight some people to earn his way in the rankings, so on and so forth. But you're like, I'll fight him. I don't care. What is it like? In a way, do you think like the rankings have almost become a bad thing for the sport? Because we do hear that so often now where guys are like, I'm not going to fight you because it does nothing for me. If I'm number 5 and you're number 12, it does nothing for me to beat you. But if I beat the number 4 guy, then it moves me ahead. You hear this kind of stuff all the time. I almost feel like the rankings are good. They're fun to talk about, but they're also bad in a way, right? Like it almost prevents us from getting fights.
I would agree in that aspect. I would agree that they're fun to talk about. They're like they should be a fun thing to have on the side. But letting Nasrat not ranked when he is the same skill level as a lot of ranked fighters, in my opinion, he's of the same skill level of a lot of ranked guys. He just doesn't have the little number next to his name. Letting the rankings get in the way of a good fight it would be silly. For me to turn down this fight because he's not ranked and then not fight, that would be silly. That would show unwillingness to compete or unwillingness to get out there, or it would show a real confidence in I'm not confident in my skill if I don't take that fight, right? If I don't take the fight with Nasrat, I feel, this is me personally, I feel like I wouldn't be backing myself. I've taken this fight because I know that I back myself out there against any single person in the world, whether they're ranked or top 5, top 10, it doesn't make a difference to me. And I feel like the Nasrat fight is an incredible fight. I feel like it's a great stylistic matchup, and letting a silly little number get in the way of getting out there and competing and making a living for yourself would be, it would just be poor form.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we miss out on a lot of good fights because of that. And I get it. I understand everyone wants to fight a higher ranked opponent to get where they're at. Obviously, when you beat Paul Felder, helped you move up in the rankings, all those kind of things happen. But like I said, when you got to fight and you want to fight, I looked at Armin's record, and this is not me taking a stab at him. I'm just saying I looked at his record before we talked because I was kind of curious, because he's like 15th in the rankings. He hasn't fought a ranked guy yet. Like, he fought 3 fights in a row, won 3 fights in a row, but he hasn't fought a ranked guy yet, and he's ranked. So, you can get there without having to fight the ranked guys. You just got to put on great performances. And obviously Nasrat is a guy super tough. Obviously, no shame in losing to Drew Dober, the other guy he lost to fairly recently or within the last couple of years. Super tough guy, real exciting prospect, and I think this is a fun fight. Although I will say, I do think this is a big step up for him. I mean, it's not an insult to him whatsoever, but I think going from the guys he's fought recently to Dan Hooker, that is a big step up.
Oh, I agree with you there. 100%. I feel like I am back my own skill, and I know that I'm one of the very best fighters that there are in the world. But this is how you get to that position. This is truly how you made a name for yourself. This is how I made a name for myself. This is how everyone else whose name made a name for themselves. It's because they took opportunities. They took opportunities when they were presented to them. I took many opportunities. I was unranked, went into the rankings, and I had the Barboza fight. Now, I only got that fight because I was the only guy that asked for that fight. I was the only guy that called Edson Barboza out. That's why I got the fight. Lost that fight, came back, got another number 6, Ally Aquina, because I asked for the fight. Because I called him out and I asked for the fight. Same as the Felder fight. I called Paul Felder out and I asked for the fight. Same as the Dustin Poirier fight. I called Dustin Poirier out and I took the opportunity and I took the risk and I reaped the rewards. So he's doing the right thing. He's doing what he needs to do to make a name for himself. He backs himself. He wants to go out there and he truly believes that he can beat me on that date and make a name for himself. I tip my hat to him and I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. To that point, though, when you look at, the fights you've had, and obviously no loss, there's no such thing as a good loss in MMA. I mean, you can say you take away a lot from it, but there's no such thing as a good loss. It's still a loss. But you did go, and we've talked about this, you did go 5 rounds with the guy who I believe, absolutely no offense whatsoever to Charles Oliveira, the guy I believe is the best lightweight in the world, Dustin Poirier. I think a lot of people would probably agree with me. You got caught in the Michael Chandler fight, but Michael Chandler is as good as they come. I refuse to believe he's not a top 5 or top 6 ranked lightweight in the world, regardless of what anyone wants to say about him. But how important is it to go out there and kind of put a stamp on this guy, to prove that Nasrat Haqparast isn't on your level, that he's not a top 10 guy, and kind of get that momentum built back that you had going into the Poirier fight?
Building momentum back. That's really what this fight is about, is building that momentum back. But that is such just to me, it's a very small part of why I do this and why I go out there and compete. Your main motivation for going out there and taking fights and competing can't be to make people shut up or to to always prove people that doubted you wrong, because the doubters are endless. The doubters will never go away. Whether you're the pound for pound GOAT, best of all time, a fighter will always have doubters. This fight is about showcasing my skill set. That's something that I didn't get to do in my last fight because I got knocked out like early on halfway through the first round. So I didn't get to show my skill set. That's what this fight is about. This fight is showing the improvements that I've made from all of those previous lessons. I feel like I've grown so much in the last 2 or 3 fights that I've had, and I haven't had the ability to show those developments or showcase those skills. So that's what it's about. It's about getting out there and showcasing my skills against Nasrat in September 25th.
And when you look at Nasrat, he is a guy, as you mentioned, you know, obviously he's known for his striking. He's a long rangey guy, but again, you know, we know you like to strike. Now you have a well-rounded game, so I don't want to say you couldn't go out there and submit him or ground and pound him, whatever the case may be. But do you look at a guy like Nasrat and say, this is a guy who's going to give me some openings? Like, this is a guy who's going to give me a chance to show those skills I've been learning, show the things I've been doing in the gym, and get a chance to display that.
Definitely. But that's why I pursued a fight with anyone that regardless of style, is because I back my skills. That's why I was so relentless with who I was trying to pursue to fight. That's why, whether they were a BJJ black belt, whether they were a wrestler, whether they were a striker, I was pursuing them all because I'm very confident in my ability and very confident in my skills. That's really why I was chasing any fight. Any of those fights excite me. Whether it was like one of those 3 wrestlers, whether it was Makhachev, Gillespie, or Arman, that excites me. That puzzle, that test of stopping the takedown and scrambling back to my feet and picking them apart, that interests me. But what interests the fans is 2 fighters that are going to go out there, stand on their feet, and exchange with each other. A Tony Ferguson fight, you know, that would have been incredible. Nasrat is that same style of fight. This is a fight for the fans, 100%. It interests me whether I fight Makhachev or whether I fight Tony Ferguson. But the fans want to see me fight Tony Ferguson because that's the excitement that it brings. That's what we have here with Nasrat. He's a guy that's going to stand on a feet and go blow for blow with me and trade with me. It's an exciting opportunity to put on a real show and really kickstart this event.
Absolutely. Let me ask you real quick, Dan, before I get you out of here. You know, the lightweight division as it is, I mentioned, of course, a little bit earlier, your only focus is on your fight, of course. But when you look at the division as a whole, we do have some interesting things going on right now. As you mentioned, obviously, Islam is going to be fighting RDA. We're not sure what's going on with Poirier, if he's going to end up fighting RDA. Obviously, the Diaz fights out there right now. I'm curious your lay of the land at lightweight right now as you look on as a guy in the division, but also kind of like, you know, when you put yourself out of the division, when you look at what's going on, because we're kind of in this age now where we're dealing with, like, not that it's new, but like Dustin Poirier, and I would argue he is the best lightweight in the world. No offense to Charles Oliveira, but he has an opportunity right now where he could skip Charles Oliveira and make a boatload of money to fight Nate Diaz, where he would be a massive favorite over Nate Diaz. And I actually argue, I say, go do it. Make your money, man. There's no shame. You're only hitting the sport for so long. You can get a championship, great, but go make your money. But what do you think of where the lightweight division is at right now? Because it's kind of in a weird spot because, again, I think the best guy is the guy that doesn't have the belt right now.
Yeah, that is that is real interesting. That the kind of situation we're in now. Yeah, it's at a bit of a stalemate. I remember before all of those fights happened, before, you know, Makhachev, before the Dustin Poirier Conor McGregor rematch. Yeah, we were like, man, we're gonna really get some clarity in this lightweight division and then get everything cleared up, and we're gonna have like a good structure and a clear picture for the future. But all of those fights kind of went through, and I think we're in a worse position we were than before before that fight, where it's just a bit muddled up, and it'll take a bit of time for guys to get back healthy or get out there and compete. You know, that's what they really need to do, is get out there and win fights. And that's why I'm getting out there and competing against Nasrat, because I'm taking the opportunity to get out there, win fights, and put my resume together to earn myself a title shot.
Yeah, but you could argue, like I said right here, like if you got a chance to fight a guy like, let's say, a Nate Diaz, I guarantee you jump at that fight. That's a huge fight. Like Nate's a guy, like ranking or not, that's a guy you want to fight, right? Like Nate's just one of those guys. You're like, yeah, of course I'll fight Nate Diaz. It's Nate freaking Diaz.
Oh, when you're getting pay-per-view money, that's that's what it comes down to. That's why you want the belt, because the belt guarantees you pay-per-view points. But as Dustin Poirier has found out, he can get pay-per-view points without the belt by fighting these massive names, by fighting Conor McGregor, by fighting Nate Diaz. So I 100% understand it, and I 100% support or back whatever decision he decides to make for his family.
Yeah. Last thing before I get you out here, and I hate to close out on a negative note, Dan, only because I don't. Obviously, the laws in every country is different. Here in the United States, different than New Zealand. But of course, I know you've spoken a lot, and a lot of the guys from City Kickboxing have spoken a lot about the tragedy that befell your teammate Fovak. And I saw the situation with the guy who got convicted, and it was 6 months of home detention, whatever it is. I saw you tweet about it. No, Israel's tweet about it. I saw all you guys tweet about it. Am I wrong? Like I was so shocked and blown away by that situation, and maybe I just don't understand the laws of New Zealand. Am I missing something here? Because that seemed like I followed the situation closely, and I was just so stunned by that whole thing.
So the one that it was four people attacked Fo and his brother James. So it was like a 4-on-2 situation. They were attacked by 4 people. One has been charged with manslaughter, another 2 with assault, and another one, the one that was convicted, he was the only one that pled guilty to the charge. The others have pled not guilty, so their trial is next October. It's in October next year. They will have the trial for Fo's for Fo's murder, for pretty much taking his life from him. So yeah, there's another 2 charged with assault, but only one of them's charged with manslaughter. So we're kind of had to. It's just upsetting because that's the result of one of the 4, and it's really the punishment did not fit the crime. So it doesn't leave our team here in New Zealand much hope for the other 3 when they go to trial next October.
Yeah, I know that's something near and dear to all your hearts. And like I said, I like to bring it up because obviously I think, if we don't talk about it, people, across the world may not know. And I think it's such an important situation, such a tragic situation. And like I said, I hate to bring up a negative, but we, like I said, the only way we're going to know about it is if we actually talk about it. I know you guys have all been very passionate, in supporting that situation and dealing with it. It's tragic. Like, I don't know a better way to say it, man. It's a tragedy. And I just hate seeing I hate hearing things like that. I'm just like, man, it just sucks. Like, I don't know a better way to say it.
Oh, 100%. It's a difficult topic, but thank you for bringing it up and keeping it kind of fresh in people's minds. And it's what the team is trying to do here in New Zealand is change some of the punishments or change the law around, coward punching in New Zealand or hitting someone from the side or hitting someone that's not prepared to fight, and then falling down and dying and people only being charged with such minuscule punishments doesn't fit the rest of the world. I'm sure if the same scenario would have happened in the United States, it would have been a much harsher penalty for the crime. So we're trying to get some form of law change here in New Zealand.